Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of To Lovecraft and Back. I am one of your hosts, Michael. Thank you for tuning in to us. I have my other co-host, Mr.
Yes, Aaron, the one, the only, what it do?
The Spectacular, the Amazing.
Oh, yes.
Show stopping. Yeah, show stopping. We are here to talk about another episode, and we are talking about episode 4, A History of Violence. In the latest episode, we see Tacitus and Letty head back to Massachusetts with Montrose. We also have Christina relocating to Chicago as she tries to stake her claim in the upper ranks of the Order of the Ancient Dawn. We have Hippolyta looking into some clarity on George's death. This episode, I think, is a breather from the first 3 episodes that we have experienced. It's been different levels to this series already. And like we just had a ghost story. Before that, we had like a season finale, almost like type thing with this like ritual and everything and exploding. And then we also had episode 1 where it was just this, us getting to know these characters and getting to know this world and everything. So I feel like this episode takes us on a journey and an adventure. So yeah. How are you doing today, Aaron?
Oh, I am doing wonderful, ecstatic, and all those other wonderful buzzwords. This episode is, in my opinion, a filler episode. It does set the tone, and establish what we're getting later. But I think, just with this kind of adventure take, we're kind of, like you said, a breather from what, the main plot already, has been established since episode 3. And it's like, this is, in short, technically a controversial episode, for some. We're going to get into why later. But, looking back, just rewatching it, the title is definitely a play on words, not just with the subplot, where we have a lot of things happen, but also with a certain character, Montrose. There's a lot that...
a lot of layers.
Yeah, there's a lot of layers that we have to talk about.
Well, since we can start off with Montrose because he is the opening scene of this episode, and we see him. Obviously, he has been drinking and he's crying and he's hearing voices and things like that. And with me rewatching it today, it was him hearing the voice of his dad and the things that he was going through in his childhood and everything. Then you see he has this book, which is the Book of Adam, the Book of Names and everything like that. You see he has this book and everything, and he's just going through, he's going through so much. He's just lost his brother. He's having this tension with his son, and then he's battling with his own demons as in alcohol or whatever else he's battling with. So you see him going through how that scene is. He takes the book. He does read the poem from the book. I do have the poem somewhere. We can get into it, but he does read the poem from the book and tosses it in the trash can and sets it on fire. I was looking like, you big dummy. Like, why did you just do that? Like, I was really mad with him because I was like, your son and his woman needs this, and you gonna sit up here and burn this book? Like, why would you do that? Like, but
because he has a history of violence.
Exactly. It's King, like play on play. Like, he has his history of violence. And I think what it was is that he wanted to detach himself from that, get away from that. But he did read the book. So, he read what he could before he can like destroy it. And I think it was just him still protecting his son at the end of the day, protecting him for whatever chaos that book holds. So,
yeah. And I think, going a little further, because here I go again. I guess I'm getting deep early, y'all.
Go ahead.
I think this also speaks on the fact of how a lot of black men, try to protect their children from some of the things that they may know. And sometimes that's good and sometimes it's not so good. And,
Right.
obviously it's going to come back to bite them later. But seeing Montrose, kind of, go back and forth between this, hard ass to, a very loving dad, because, throughout the whole episode, we see him constantly berate, his son and even try to bite Letty's head off. At least Letty will, stand up to him the way, you're supposed to. But Tick is just, he goes like, he'll go from 0 to 100 with his dad in a heartbeat. And, but at the same time, as you can see later in the episode, they have to trust each other.
Exactly.
When they go on their Indiana Jones style adventure, they're the only ones that, other than Letty, they have to trust each other. And it's just, seeing Montrose really, have to play two different roles, just in his personal life with battling his demons, and then as a father, but also as this guy with immense knowledge.
Right.
Like that's a hell of a task to put on somebody. And I, after rewatching, I absolutely see why he has so many demons. I absolutely get it.
Right, because he's been
very conflicted.
Very conflicted, and I feel like Montrose has held on to a lot that's happened to his life. I think he's held on to his childhood, held on to his adulthood, held on to his relationship with his with the woman that gave him a child. I think he's still holding on to the situation of how he treated his child. So I think he's holding on to so much, and everything is just closing in on him. I think that opening scene was a moment where he was trying to release. I feel like he was trying to release himself from that, and as we see him go through this episode, and go through more episodes, you see him begin to peel off more layers of himself, peel out more layers. Because I can't wait till we get into it, but it's a part where it happens when they're in the tomb where he has a conversation with Tick, and I appreciate him for saying it, because at that instant, Tick was wrong. So I appreciate him for calling him out on that, and giving him that father to son talk and figure, and giving him that encouragement and saying that, hey, you was wrong. He'll talk to you later. But Montrose, I have a soft spot for Montrose. I do. So
he's a good character.
The only time I was mad with him is when they went and came and got him from the episode 2, when they went and got him and he dug himself up, and then he turned around. He was like, I didn't need y'all to come get me. That's like one of my favorite parts of it, because he's like, I don't need y'all to come get me. Dang. But I see he got his behind up in that car.
Exactly.
Nah.
Montrose, he's a great character. Since you went ahead and brought it up, let's talk about Mr. Tick for a second, because I got beef with him. Sir.
He's a hot mess.
You got a problem, everyone, somebody breathes and Tick got a problem with it. Letty ask him a question, Tick got a problem with it. Montrose want to move, Tick got a problem with it. Exactly. Hippolyta want to ask a question, Tick got a problem with it. Exactly. I know Tick came from a war, but my God, I think this episode was the beginning of the end for Tick for me, because he gets on my nerves. He's a baby. All he does is whine. Yeah. All he wants to do, I get he's his father's son, but it just, that also speaks how great the actor and the writers are. Right. But it's just he obviously wants to be very different from his dad. That's why he got into the military and all this stuff. But he is something else.
Yeah, he is, because since we on the subject, when the whole scene when Christina came to the house, and this is after the whole they're getting the exorcists out, and Christina came to Letty's house or whatever, and boom, she couldn't get through the house because of the spell that's still up from when the voodoo priestess put up for them when they was doing the thing and everything. So to see that hand in hand with the magic. But when Christina told Letty about Tick coming to try to kill her the last episode, and then Tick not tell her, And
Right.
then Miss Letty goes all the way down to the library. It was so funny because how you know he was at the library? He a bookworm.
Right.
Like, that was so funny. The fact that she went straight to the library and knew that he was at the library and pulled him to the side and said, you didn't tell me you did such and such. You was going to try to kill Christina. Are you stupid? And everything like that. And it's just how he was treating the situation of her saying, well, I think you need to talk to your dad because he obviously knows more about this than you, and you're trying to sit up here and research all this stuff, and he obviously knows more about it because from what he's told you and everything like that and how he's been acting. Why don't you just talk to your dad? And how he shut her down was like, I don't need to talk to him and everything like that. But it was so funny and it was so ironic how when he was all those books that he had on that table, all those books his daddy had checked out for him researching about the same subject. So go ask your daddy. And then you see in the next scene you see Letty and you see Montrose sitting down talking about the situation and everything and how they can come up with a plan to get this missing pages for the Book of Names. So, but yeah, Tick is a mess. I'm sorry. I love Tick, but he's a mess. He's so, I just wish he would just, take it down a notch. But it makes me think about the future of his character development, and it makes me understand why he acts the way he acts. So, right. Tick is a mess.
Yeah, he's very headstrong. He was very headstrong, but, I do appreciate, how he was trying to, take hold of the situation. But, as the series shows, it always comes at a price. You cannot expect to do something. You can't expect to do something and not expect something else to happen.
Right.
And I really do appreciate that. And what I really like, we can go ahead and jump from there, is that they basically, get Hippolyta and their daughter to go on a little trip to a museum,
right?
Because this leads to, I think, your favorite element of the show. We get the adventure. We get just the straight up, full-blown adventure style, setting. And it's like, we're, once again, like I was saying in the first episode, we have these just highly intelligent Black people, in this setting doing essentially espionage.
Right.
They're in a museum and they're learning. But, I really like how it contrasts with Hippolyta, even though she's trying to, ease her mind of George's death and all that and just be there for her daughter, she still has a lot of doubt.
Yes. She has so much doubt.
And I just, I'm going to let you take it away because this is your favorite part of the episode.
Well, I'm gonna put a pin on that because I'm thinking about what you said about Hippolyta going with them on this trip and everything, because we know she's dealing with the death of George and everything, and how is this, she's very eager to know answers about what happened to her what happened to her husband, and how, the two people that she trusts, Montrose and Tick, are not telling her anything. So, she's very concerned with everything that is going around. But I was happy to see her go on this trip with them and, get to this museum, because we know that she is a very smart, intelligent Black woman. We know that she loves space and everything. As you can see from the last episode, she has this astronomy little gold thing that she found at the house and everything, and she's trying to figure out how to unlock it and use it, and she knows that it predicts the planet's movements and everything. So we get to see her be excited about something that she's very into and everything that she has a passion for. But seeing her go on this trip and her and Dee have that moment when there was in the what is the thing called when you look at the stars in the sky, telescope, but it was the big one. Oh God, Sourworks got one.
I'm
blanking too, man. It's making me mad. But that scene where they were looking at the sky and they were at the museum and everything, planetarium, or the planetarium. I couldn't get it out for nothing. But they're laying there. She was having that moment with Dee. I really was happy for them because they both have been through some D losing her dad and then, Help losing her husband. So, and not knowing the answers, I was glad that they have that bonding moment of mother and daughter and her telling her that, I named that and, seeing D yell that my mama named this comment. And it was just really, I think it was a very good moment for them both for what they've been through. And, I enjoyed it. Yeah, I love Hip, and I hate that she's going through what she's going through, but it also gives the character more developed to be independent and find out what she needs to find out for her own destiny. So that's what I love about that. But yes, this is my favorite episode. Because it gives me with the trio, their goal is basically trying to get these missing pages of the book and names and everything, and they go to this museum and they have to go back to the museum because they have to go under the museum. And what I like about that is that it's because it's an adventure. It's giving you Tomb Raider, giving you Indiana Jones energy. And I love this episode because of the trials and tribulations they have to go through this episode. What starts it off when they're about to go underground is that you see the trio, trying to figure out how to open up the vault to get underground. And it was so cool to see that Montrose was like, wait a minute, turn your lights off, and then point the moon into the hole so that it can open. Gives me more of Montrose's intelligence and what he knows. And, him, it just goes hand in hand to his past of the character and him going present and future of the character and everything like that. So, they go under and everything like that. And Tick is very, he's paying attention to his dad because he's looking at him like, how did you know that was supposed to happen and everything like that? So, they go underground and everything. And it's just this adventure, as I keep saying, like, oh my God, they go underground, they see this. You see, they come up to this big long thing, and it's like a little long, like plank, and they have to cross it. And that's when I really got my Indiana Jones Tomb Raider feel because, they're all nervous and everything. And we see Tick pull out the rope and ties the rope to Letty and, ties it to himself and everything. But to talk about Tick and Montrose, I love the interaction they had because Letty was like, how did you learn how to do this? And he was like, oh, Montrose was like, my dad taught me and his father taught him. And I thought that was kind of more of another layer being pulled off of Montrose and their relationship as father and son. But yes, them getting on this whole scene was like, I think this was my favorite scene because it was very intense for them to tie themselves up and then have to cross this thing. And then when they get halfway across, there's this pendulum going back and forth. And, it gives me the intense feeling. And then whoever does the music for this is very, like, I love them because, like, it gives me the good hip hop music on the certain scenes that we'll talk about. And then it also gives me this very adventurous and, the suspenseful music that I need to enjoy the scene of that is being displayed to me. So, but yeah, them going across and everything and them having to work together to get across that plane. And then when the plane started disappearing and then having Tick come back to his dad and he's like, Dad, Pop, you're going to have to jump. And I felt like that was another layer because Montrose had to trust him to, jump, and then, they go in everything. How was you feeling about this? Because I don't want to get to the puzzle thing because it's going to go hand in hand with another topic I got.
Yeah, I really do appreciate, that scene because like I was saying earlier, we see Montrose in, so many different roles and see him kind of be essentially the quiet leader because, without Montrose, they would not be in, this close to, the pages that they need, but also being, Tick's dad and, like Montrose really being nervous that Tick might not catch him, that speaks on, their relationship, but, Tick catch, like, I really do love how, they embraced each other, and it wasn't, showcasing how much of an ass Tick can be. I really do love that. And it just, that whole, like the whole setup, like you were saying, that whole adventure style setup, and just seeing them really have to use their brains, they're taken out of their element. I think that's what I really like about it, is that they're taken out of their element.
Right.
They have to basically adapt. Like that's such an interesting, trope that I see in stories, and seeing it here, I love that about there. And, you're probably going to get into it, but Letty gives Tick a few choice words.
Oh yeah, I was happy that, we can get into it. When she told him, she said, you act like this, you're not the only person that this is happening to. And that's what he was acting like you act like you're not the only person that is dealing with this. Like, at the end of no shade, ain't nothing happened to him but being stopped from shooting a white woman. That's it. Like, exactly. That's about it. Well, yes, you lost Uncle George. Let me stop being like this. Like, no, yes, he lost Uncle George, but at the same time, it's like, dude, like, it's just the way he comes off. Like, like, I get it. And she snapped on him with that part is when I was trying to pull up this poem, because the poem was at the beginning of the book that Montrose had burned, and when they get across the ledge, and they're there at this wall where they have to go into the next level, they have to press these. It's another puzzle thing, and they have to press these puzzle things, and the code was the beginning of it was the words that Montrose had said. It was something about Adam did something, and then God smited Eve and all this, and the monsters created this and that. And that was the code to get into, when they had to press, when they was at the end of the ledge, that was the code to get into the next thing. And Tick got upset because he was like, well, how did you know that? And it's like, if he didn't know it, y'all wouldn't have been able to get there. Like, stop coming off at your father like that. At the end of the day, if it wasn't for him, you wouldn't have been into the next level. So I was kind of glad that she got him together, because he was still coming off as if, like, I'm here, but I'm the only one going through this, which that's not the case, because you have your dad and you have a woman that you are trying to build a relationship with, and you're being very rude to both of them.
Right. And have you found the
I'm
poem?
Looking for it. Okay. I'm about to say, if you have another, you can go.
Yeah, I found it. I found it.
Yes, please go into it, because it
was basically Adam named, and then Eve fucked. Mm-hmm. God brought forth monsters. Mm-hmm. Monsters devoured. God smites Eve. Like, looking back, because when I was rewatching this episode, when I first watched it, I was like, oh, well, okay, well, that's interesting. But looking back, this kind of tells you the entire plot of
the whole series.
Yeah, like this, like that, and the fact that it came out of Montrose's mouth, right. While Tick and Letty are still looking for this, and even like all other characters, they don't mention this at all, but Montrose, and it's just like, that shows how freaking intelligent this guy is.
Yes, like it was another layer that we needed.
Right, like he got caught by he got kidnapped by Sons of Adam for a reason.
Right.
And I just like that just, oh my God, yeah, I'm going to geek out about this, like, in a later episode, because we can very much get into who, Eve is, but it's like, looking back, I think Eve represents every woman, because at some point, something happens, to all the characters that have sex in this show.
That's deep.
Like, something happens, we're really gonna get into it.
That's really deep that you said that. That's really deep. Like, I'm just saying, like, no shade, but
yeah,
I'm thinking about Hip and George. George is dead. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking about,
let's talk about a girl, Ruby.
Right. I'm thinking about Ruby and her situation, and then God, like, when you say something like that, we're gonna have to. That's deep. Like, whoa, we did it again. Right. That's deep. But yeah, that poem, when I was watching it this morning, I was watching this episode, I was like, wait. And then when he said it, when they were at that wall and they was pressing the puzzle, I was like, oh my God. But I think that poem is going to transcend through the whole series, because I feel like, you know, and I'm going to probably bring it up on the finale, because I feel like it concludes with the finale with that poem. So, yeah. I was really glad that she got his ass together, because I'm sick of him acting like, you know, he's the only person that this is going through. And I just, you know, I want him to understand that everybody supports you in your decisions that you're doing, but you have to realize, like, hey, everybody else is going through this with you. We're all in the same boat with you. I also want to talk about the next vault that they have to go through. And I thought it was kind of cool, because you see them after they pass, and you see them, the water is rising and everything, and you see them get to this next vault, and it has the spell and everything above it and everything, but there's a dead arm there, and then they pull the arm out. But what I liked about that scene is that, yeah, we're all nervous, because we're like, dang, he puts the ring on and everything, but is it going to unlock? But automatically I was thinking, like, because he has the blood, he is the blood, you know, he has the blood of the whole Sons of Adams and everything. So, you know, him putting that in, he's putting his arm in there and being able to unlock this, have this next vault open so they can get to the next level. I thought that was kind of cool, because I mean, he has the blood of the birthright of that he's in. So, you know, to see it glow and everything, and then the ladder falls down, and then they get up to the next room, which I'm kind of excited to break down, because it goes hand in hand with the museum, and it goes hand in hand for this next climax of this episode. So when we get into the next level of this episode, it's a ship, and this ship is from the Brathrites, and it's just crazy how it goes hand in hand to them talking about him, you know, taking all these different things as a colonizer and putting them in this museum. And he's basically taking little things from things that he's conquered, basically, and putting it in this museum. But when we get to this ship, and it's the things that he's taking for these people, it was just, you know, I felt that it was crazy, because, like, you know, he's taking all these things from these people, and then what he did to the people that's like, that I don't want to say banished or anything like that. I'm trying to think of the word, that he confined to this ship, because that was his last mission on this ship, because he used these people to translate the book of names for him. And then when they did what he wanted, he confined them to this ship with this spell. And I mean, we find that out through them about to get the papers, and this, you know, this body comes back to life, and the only person that can understand her is Tick, with him having that knowledge and blood of this birthright. So, how are you feeling about that? Because that was, I think this is when we can talk about also the controversy of this episode and this scene and everything. And I had to take a step back, because I remember when this episode came out, it was a lot that came about it, and I understand it and everything. So, but first, how did you feel about, you know, that scene coming to full circle, especially with our main big villain?
I think it was very satisfying, because you know, basically that spell confining all of those victims, you know, I have to think, is this what the Sons of Adam were going to do to Letty, George, and, you know, Tick, or really Letty and George, once they were done with the sacrifice of Tick? You know, were they going to confine him to the building and kill him? You know, but it just, I really like how that just speaks, and the fact that it was in Massachusetts, you know, the museum, like, it just really does speak on how most of America has been built on colonizing, you know, different religions and cultures and putting them on display. You know, like, and it being, you know, your ancestors' unmentionables, you know, or prized possessions, but they're on display for the world to see. Right. And it's just going and eyeing. And I think, you know, let's go ahead and talk about, you know, the controversy. You know, what comes right after is, you know, it all of that rooted in truth, but then bring in this, essentially we can call them the Tooth Spirit. It's non-binary, but it has the appearance of a male, has male genitalia, but the appearance of a female. Like, that's a very bold decision, to take on, because it brings this sort of like, not supernatural, but this, I think ethereal is the right word, but this very, big, grand, idea of that we're supposed to really be paying attention to this character.
Right.
I looking at different criticisms of it. I think the biggest, because even Misha admitted, she made some mistakes. Was that Montrose's first reaction was, "What is that?" And people, people who watched it, it turned them off. But in hindsight, that is absolutely what somebody like Montrose would say. He would call, them a what and a that and all that stuff.
Yeah.
The fact that Tick says, "Well, who are you?" It shows that it's still a human.
Right.
But I really do appreciate how helpful this character was, and just seeing someone from the Native American imagery pop up and actually be helpful, and not just just there, just the chance and all this stuff. The only thing I will say, Miss Misha, you can't have them be a plot device. You can't do that.
So we gonna go ahead and go deeper into it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I'm a little upset. Anyway, so first of all, you introduced this character to me, and I love what you did with it and everything. And then her telling them that Titus tricked them and everything, translating the pages for them in the Book of Names and being cursed them and confined to the ship. You're fine. Yes, sir. That character talking about how that Titus tricked them into translating the pages from the Book of Names before cursing them and confining them to that ship. And then, we see them escape and everything, because once they removed the pages and everything, water caved in and everything, you see them escape. I'm gonna come back to a pin on that, because Letty is she's the final girl. I'm sorry,
right.
Because when the whole pages went out, what did Letty do? You didn't see Tick, nor you saw Montrose go out. You saw them reach out for her, but you didn't see them go try to get those pages. But girl, swimming, giving me more Tomb Raider and more Indiana Jones energy. But no, my girl, she always comes through for them, every time. She comes through for them. Because if it wasn't for her, they wouldn't have them pages.
Exactly.
Because neither one of them budged. And I hate that when the elevator started rushing up and everything, and then because Tick was being real, that whole episode, Tick was being a real asshole to her. That whole episode, from the library until them being there and everything like that, he was being a real asshole. But he embraces her with a kiss, because you better have, because she went and got these names and she went and swimmed and got this thing for you. You better embrace her. You better let her know that you feel sorry for how you've been treating her, and then how you've been coming off. But fast forward to when they get to the house and everything, and back to Yama, because this is where I was conflicted with Montrose, and I'm still to this day, even with the season being over and watching it today, this episode again, I'm still conflicted, because I'm still kind of confused on what is going to happen. Because my thing is this, y'all, because first of all, when it was in the elevator after the water came up, she started to scream. And what I got from that is that she was a siren. I used to watch this show called Siren that came on Freeform, and I fell in love with mermaids and stuff like that from that show, because it gave it gives another tale of mermaids. It's not your typical Disney Little Mermaid. I love you, Ariel, but it's not. This is a totally different thing. But when it comes down to sirens, it's more of a deeper story, and their song and their screams and everything can penetrate the human ear, and that we see that until, you know, Tick knocks her out and everything. But my thing is this: you get to the house, you talk about it, y'all, you coming up with the plan. We're gonna get her to translate. You figure out that, you know, Titus put this spell on her, maybe because she can't talk, so that's why she's screaming, but, you know, turned into a siren. But how this episode ends is that Montrose slices her neck.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, are you serious? Because exactly for what? Because like I said, till now, and I'm gonna stick with me even rewatching, I haven't seen an answer yet. And because I was really looking forward to, you know, that character being able to translate the book of names and help them out and everything like that. But I get that, and I also look at it from the other standpoint as a writer. Maybe it was just to more raise the stakes of Montrose as a character. But if you're gonna raise the stakes of more of Montrose as a character, now I'm gonna ask, why did you make him kill this character? Like, why did you do that? Like, you know, so yeah, that's how I was feeling. I was mad about that. Because I just didn't.
I'm right there with you. I don't understand, you know, the decision. Like, I think, you know, just with rewatching the entire series, you know, I think we really did get answers to just about everything.
Mm-hmm. But I don't think we haven't got an answer. We haven't got one yet, and I think I feel like we will, especially with both of us watching each episode over again before we record. I really think we will get to see that happen. But even with me still recollecting what happened in the last two episodes, from the second to last episode and the finale, I don't think it has been said. I just don't. And it just gives me more of what I've been saying about Montrose. Like, what is your end game? Like, will he have a bigger role in season 2?
Right. And see, a part of me, like looking back, a part of me kind of like originally thought that the Two Spirit was representative of like something bigger to do with like Montrose's sexuality. But, you know, I'm just taking it face value. I really don't know what they wanted to do with that character. Right. And I really do feel like they could have did more with, you know, with this character. Like, even if they, you know, got them out of the boat, you know, out of the ship, out of the museum, and just let them live their life somewhere else. And I was hoping they would come back and control those mole creatures. That's what I thought was going to happen. But I'm just like,
yeah, it's a lot of more seeds planted for the rest of the season.
Right.
But I will say that whole transition, that whole act, that whole climax was good. It just, you know, that last scene had me shook. But I think I'm done with that. I really want to talk about two more characters before we, you know, I want to talk about Christina, because she has pivotal moments in this episode as well. And my topic is, where is Christina's place? Is it at the top of the secret order of food chain? So it's like, what is her end game? Because we know she survived the lodge and everything that happened. You know, we see her come to Chicago and she's trying to stay close to, you know, Tick and everything. She's, you know, what is she doing? She's planting seeds and laying down the groundwork for what she has planned for herself. So, and I think what I like about Christina is that she's a go-getter. She's going to get what she wants, and she's planting seeds everywhere. And I just feel like, you know, at this point, Christina knows what she wants. And she's putting everything into her plot, and she's putting everything into her plan with her meeting Letty, and, you know, they having more discussion of what can be happening and everything like that. So, you know, I just really like the fact that Christina is a staple right now in this season, because she is, quote unquote, the villain.
Yeah. And can I just say, I love how her introduction in this episode was, "Bitch better have my money." Like, that was... Like, if you want to know anything about this character, replace money with like power, and that's her whole character. She wants what she wants, and I think the scene right after was hilarious. Like, she's trying to walk in the house, and the voodoo the voodoo priestess magic basically blocking her. Like, I love that look that she had. Like, oh shit, they understand something.
Right.
They may know a little something, but it's her basically telling Letty, your man tried to kill me and it didn't work. I just love how she knows all of these characters' Achilles' heels.
Mm-hmm.
And she's hitting every single one right on point. And she doesn't care how, what leads to what, as long as she gets what she wants.
Right.
And she knows, like, she may not know, but she has a very good idea of all the reactions, of how reactionary they are. And it lets me, start thinking, like, how long has she been watching them? I've asked that since the first episode. Like, how long has she been studying, all of these, all these, people? And it really does speak on her because, even, like you were saying, how, what's her role in the food chain, to see this sheriff.
Yes, I was just about to say, that beef between her and the chef is deep. I love it too, because it's like, she's basically standing up for what she wants, because as she's previously stated, she said that, that Tick, you came in here and got a ring, and I've been with this family for years, and I have to, work myself up to the chain. So with that saying, the food chain, like, she has to work herself up, but she stands her ground with Mr. Lancaster, the sheriff. She stands her ground with him, and, she basically lets him know that I know what you're trying to do, and he knows what she's trying to do. So, it's that tension between the both of them, because they both want to seize control of this power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think, it really does. It's a good reminder, of the times that they're in. It's like, even with Christina having all this power and being the daughter of this grand wizard, basically, she's still a woman. She may be a white woman, but she's still a woman. And these, racist wizards, they don't care. They don't care who she is. They don't care what her role is. They don't care how she is. Like, she's a woman.
Right.
She may know a little magic, but she's still a woman. And it's like Christina's, she still has obstacles of her own. Mm-hmm. And I really think, looking back, it's very evident that her story is a mirror of Tick's, because while Tick is always reminded he may, have the blood right and all this stuff, he's still a black man.
Right.
And just seeing these characters, go on their own journeys, and to have Christina basically force, their journeys to collide. Like, that's just such an interesting aspect. That's a great villain. That is a great villain.
She's the writers room knew what they was doing with her.
Yeah.
And then I'm just thinking about the future, but they knew what they were doing with her. And I think I appreciate them for that, because it's like, and I can't wait to talk about it more later as we get into the series, is that she is a staple in this. Like, she's one of those characters that is like, you hate to love her, but you gotta love her because of her plan and everything like that. Like, she really does get the job done for what she's trying to do. So, I appreciate the writers for really taking their time and putting with each character, because I feel like each character has an episode where they get to grow. And I don't want to say this is her episode where she gets to grow, but I think this was the episode that we get to know more about her and everything. So, I do want to talk about one thing, because it would happen towards the end of the episode where Hip and Dee were on their way back home, and she was still having that curiosity, because Dee was like, how they get back to Chicago and they're not with us? And it's just like, that didn't sit right with Hip, because she's just like, something ain't right. And for her to say, well, where did you get that map from? And she sees the map and everything, and she makes that impulsive decision to go to Adderham. And it's, I think for her, she wants more answers. And that was the moment where she was like, I have to get them for myself, because if nobody's going to tell me, I get it for myself. And I like that, because, it ties in more with her destiny on this series.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm going to say about that, because,
and it's big. She's got a big destiny.
Big big destiny. So I feel like, I mean, I hate that she has to take the slow. I mean, and not even it's not if it's that it's a slow character build, but at the same time, you know, it's building that building block more of what she has to go through as a character. So, you know, I will say when I get to that, because I think that's another one of my favorite episodes. That episode is beautiful. That's, like I said, I think each character has an episode that's basically centered around them, and we get to see more of that character. Just like with episode 5, go ahead, spoiler alert, we get to see more of Ruby and Christina, and we get to see more of Christina's actual plan and, you know, actual what she's been doing, and we get to go more deeper into Ruby as a character. So, you know, I feel like each episode we have that moment where we get to be focused on one character or two, and that's what I appreciate about the writers and them building this world of Lovecraft.
Yeah, and I think we should go ahead and briefly get into that. Like, this episode sets up Ruby and William, you know, William, quote unquote William, you know, being an item. And it's like, I think this episode, you really do see Ruby, you know, in her mind at her lowest, you know, performing at this bar. Nobody's, you know, applauded her anything. You know, I love how she said, "Well, fuck you too." Like,
right.
I love that.
It was, because I mean, that was hurtful. Like, I mean, you go from the beginning of the episode where you have all these people, cheering and clapping for you, and then in this club, you know, I would have said the same thing too. But you know,
Ruby, you really do see it. And then, you know, even with her trying to get a job at the store, like, you know, you see her at her lowest. And, you know, to have William, quote unquote William, who's, you know, to see William, you know, basically light up on her and essentially seduces her. Like,
he seduced her. She wanted that. You think she seduced her? Because okay, let's get into it. Let's get into it. Because when they was at the bar and they were talking, yes, she probably was like 3 drinks in the wind, but at the same time, she was like, she told my son, it ain't gonna happen, white boy. I was like, okay,
I give you that, yeah.
But then the next thing, you busted up in his room, busted up in his house, but I do want to talk about this because I thought about something. So, did we ever talk about the his demon brand, like his horn? I don't like because I'm gonna have to look it up and we can talk about it on our Everything That We Missed episode. But like that, because when I was watching it today, I was like, oh my god, I forgot about he having this brand on him. So you know, but then I think, oh, never mind. I think about it because somebody else had a brand on them as well. So I was taken back by that today, and it's just like, did we really get into him knowing about him having that brand? But you know, I did appreciate the scene between William and Ruby when they, you know, did the do or whatever, because I mean, yes, she was at her lowest, and I think she needed somebody at that time because she didn't have nobody. Her sister had betrayed her with this whole money situation, which we find out that money did not come from her mother. It came from Miss Christina. So, you know, now, like I said, those that seed that was been planted and is done water and then split up these 2 sisters. So, you know, I think I appreciated the scene because she didn't have nobody, and William was there to uplift her and give her this offer and, you know, give her some, I don't even want to say attention, but, you know, give her some care, some tender loving care, you know, and, you know, for them to get into it is, you know, I think she needed that for herself because, like you said, she just performed and nobody said anything to her. So, you know, I appreciate the scene of the significance of them 2 characters and the growth of those 2 characters. I would say that.
Yeah, it's a really great setup if you're watching the series, you know, to see what happens next. And just, you know, it really does also speak on, you know, Ruby's characters, that unlike Letty, you know, Ruby just, if she's at her lowest, you know, she's not going to go to church. You know, she's not going to, you know, go talk to somebody who might understand her in the family. She's just going to go, you know, drink and see where her life takes her next. Right. And obviously it takes her on a whole different journey. Right. And, it, you know, I think this is when I actually really, you know, was interested, you know, more so in what Ruby was going to become, as far as a character, because, until then she was just, with, I guess we can go ahead and say it, the angry black girl. I don't think that's what they wanted to establish,
right.
But that's how it came off, compared to Letty, who was, always having, these different emotions. And it's like Ruby, whenever you saw her, she had an attitude, and, that wasn't fair. And I really do appreciate how we were getting further into, her wants and needs. And it just, that just, shows like it just no small parts in this show. There are no small parts.
Yeah. No, I mean, everything, like what I love about it is everything intertwines. Mm-hmm. Everything goes together. I love where we are and how we're continuing where we are. And I cannot wait to continue to get more into it because it goes deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. So I'm like super excited to continue. Do you have any final thoughts about this episode or anything that we've talked about between episodes 1 through 4?
Great. Episode 1 and 2 is a great little movie. Great little movie. Yeah. It had everything, your witches, all this stuff. Episode 3 and 4, it's a really interesting setup for what we're about to get, into later. And I really do love how we get all these characters, and learning more about them.
Right.
Really, really amazing.
Yeah, because this next one, I think from 5 and on down, it just gets more intense. So, yeah, I think I'm good. We would like to thank you for listening to us today. You can find us on Twitter at LCB Pod, and we are on Apple Podcasts and Spotify as well. You can find us on YouTube, and you can see us behind the mics and see our pretty faces and see us just act crazy and everything. You can find us at 2 Lovecraft and Back on YouTube as well. We would like to thank you for listening. Continue to listen. If you want to send us some questions, send us questions, send us things that you want us to touch on. Like I said, we are planning an episode later in the future for everything that we miss, and and an Easter egg episode where we can talk about little things that was planted throughout the whole series and things like that. So send us questions, send us things that you want us to talk about. So yeah, anything you would like to leave off with, Aaron?
Give us questions or we'll put Cthulhu on you.
No, we won't do that. We won't put Cthulhu on you. No. We'll probably send you into the Color of Space universe. How about that?
Oh, yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah, that'd be fun. All right. Thank you so much for listening to us. We will see you next time.
All right, bye, guys.